Hey everyone, thanks so much for choosing to watch this video. Today I'm going to show you how to make your own ring pops using different sorts of candy. So we have bubblegum, Jolly Rancher, airheads, starbursts, Skittles, and Coke bottles. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, we're going to start off with making a ring pop using airhead candy. To make these ring pops, I used a ball mold that I got from a ball set, and obviously you guys can use whatever you want, whatever shape that you have. Just make sure that you have the ability to stick a ring pop ring, I guess, in there. So fortunately they fit right in there, and mine does have that sort of little base which does kind of get in the way depending on the candy, so you can always remove the mold and then, you know, stick the ball in it. So I'll show you that throughout the video. So I'm going to use all three of these colors. So we have our blue raspberry, and then cherry and watermelon, and I'm going to attempt to make like a swirl design and see how that turns out. The beauty of the airheads, you guys, is that you don't even need to microwave them or anything. They're so soft that you can just kind of mold them into whatever shape you like and then create your ring pop. You probably don't even need to use a ball mold for this. You could probably just create a shape if you wanted to, and then just stick a ring in there, and then you have a cool little creation. So I'm just going to try to make the tips of each airhead kind of pointy, and then I'm going to twist them together and then try to keep twisting them into a ball shape, and then I'll use the mold to create that sphere for the ring. Okay, this is starting to look pretty good. It has the effect that I was hoping for, so that sort of like twisted, marbly effect. And again, the beauty of the airheads is that they're so soft that you can just sort of mush them into whatever shape you want without having to soften them in the microwave. So I'm just going to put it in the mold and just smush, smush, smush it. So you may not need to do this for airheads, but you'll see in the next ring pops that I make is that I coat the mold with oil. So that's why, and I did do it with the airhead one just to make sure, but I think you can get away without doing it because airheads aren't too sticky. But that's why mine's really shiny, and I just don't want the candy to stick on the mold. So I always coat it with an oil, and whatever oil you have that is edible is fine to use, and it just ensures that the candy's not going to stick when you try to take the mold off. So because my mold has that sort of, you know, green, I don't even know, platform thing so that you can rest on the counter, it sort of gets in the way of having the candy directly resting on the ring pop. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to take the candy out, and it really works with the airheads just because the airheads will maintain its shape, but some of the other ones you can't do this with. So I'm just going to show you whatever candy you can do this with. You can take it out and then just sort of screw your ring in there and then put this in the fridge so it hardens, and then you have yourself a ring pop that is totally made by yourself. And what I love about these DIYs, you guys, is that you can create any sort of design that you want. Alright, let's make our Skittles ring pop. So obviously what you're going to need for this is Skittles, and again you can create your own design. So I'm going to use a rainbow of colors, and I'm hoping that each color shines through. So here I am showing you that I'm spraying my ball mold with oil, and again this really ensures that it doesn't stick to your candy because it's kind of hard to take off anyways because you want to put a lot of pressure to create that sphere shape. So anything that you can do to, you know, release the mold a little bit easier, you want to do. So I heated up these Skittles maybe for about 10 seconds so that I can still touch them, but they're just soft enough so that if I put pressure on them, they sort of pop. And I'm going to try to coat each side with, you know, all the colors of the rainbow so we can see that. And then I'm just going to fill it up with the rest of my Skittles and push it together, and we'll see what happens. So once my molds click together, I'm going to stick the ring part in there, and similar to the airhead one, you want to make sure that this doesn't harden completely before taking off the mold so that you can smush the Skittles down right onto the base of the ring pop. So you don't want to have that space if you leave the mold on too long. And here is our Skittles ring pop, and I'm so happy with this one because first of all, not only do I love Skittles, but I like the effect of the rainbow, and I really like with Skittles how you get that sort of cracked look. So those shells that you can just you know, crack when it's a little bit soft, and I think it gives it a really cool effect. Okay, moving on to Jolly Rancher, and this one ends up, I think, turning out the best in terms of just sort of your basic ring pop. So it has that classic sort of clear and shiny look to it, and of course Jolly Ranchers are delicious. So I'm going to use watermelon, and I'm putting it in a microwavable safe dish, and you guys please make sure that you have adult supervision if you require it. And you do not want to microwave this too long. So the idea is that you just soften the candy. You don't want to melt it, or and of course boil it, because then it's really going to mess up your dish a little bit. So you just want to make sure again that you put it in for maybe like 5-10 seconds to start, and see if you can, you know, just push on it a little bit if your candy gets a little bit squishy, and just sort of keep an eye on it. So mine initially ended up being too melted, so I just let it sit out, and this stuff does harden quite quickly. So you can see that I'm really trying to scoop it off my dish, but it is moving, so this is actually what I want. So it's a little bit soft obviously, but it's also hard enough that I can pick it up and it's cooled off enough, so I can just scoop it up and put it in the mold. So again, just please be careful with the microwave. You just want to microwave it for a couple of seconds, like maybe 5-10 seconds, and just check it prior to moving on. And again, a lot of this depends on your mold. So I'm fortunate enough that I have that sort of, you know, separates into two sides. So hopefully you can find something like that. But again, depending on your mold, maybe you do have to microwave it a little bit longer and pour it in. So again, no matter what you do, just make sure that you guys are being safe, using adult supervision, and just a reminder that melting candy can be extremely dangerous as it's very, very hot, and of course it's sticky. A lot of comments that I get regarding Jolly Rancher when I use Jolly Ranchers for all my videos is how I clean the dish. So yes, the candy gets stuck to the dish, but it's actually super easy to get off. You just let it sit under the tap with hot water running, or you can let the hot water soak in the dish. And it's just like putting a candy in your mouth, it eventually just dissolves away. Okay, so once the candy's all in there and you've, you know, secured everything up in terms of your mold, you're going to put the ring in there and just give it one last little squeeze. Put it in the fridge just for a little bit. Make sure that it's not completely hardened, because what you're going to do is you're going to take off your mold. Again, this really depends on your mold, so the base of it might be a little bit different. But you'll see here that I'm going to take mine off, and you'll see that there's a gap between the candy and the base of the ring pop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slowly smush it down or twist it down, or however, you know, is best for you guys in terms of your mold and your candy. And you just want to make sure the candy is sitting directly on the base of the ring. And here's the finished product of the Jolly Rancher DIY ring pop. Okay, so now we get to make one of my favorites just because it's so random. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bubble gum and I'm going to turn it into that ring pop that you saw in the picture. So just grab enough gum that you need for your mold, and this is so easy, you guys. So just make sure you spray your mold so that the gum comes off, especially gum actually, because the stuff, even though you're not, you know, putting it in your mouth, it still gets actually quite sticky. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab a microwavable safe dish and just put the bubble gum in there and just soften it up. So for maybe 10 seconds. Again, it doesn't take much, and depending on, like this stuff I found sort of breaks apart a little bit, so I guess it depends on what you're using. But you just want to mush it together. So I'm just going to shove it right in the mold right away, and you'll notice that it starts sort of turning into one solid of gum. And so just keep smushing, and this one was a little bit trickier in trying to get the two halves to stay together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of water and use that as glue to stick the two pieces together, and then I put it in the fridge right away, and that really helped have it stick together. Go ahead and stick the ring in, and again, if you require a little bit of water or something, just use it as glue. It really does work, and then you just put it in the fridge and it'll harden right up. Okay, so once say it's hard enough to take out, you can snap off the mold. And again, you might want to do something similar to the Skittles one, right? So wait until it's a little bit hard, but not too hard, and then you can slide down the mold so you don't have any gap in there. Obviously, that's a personal preference, whatever you guys want to do. Really happy with how this turned out. I love how smooth it looks, and the best part is that this is gum, so, you know, if you're in front of your friends, you can take a bite of your ring pop, and it's going to look pretty crazy for you to bite your ring pop. They might think it's hard candy, right? Alright, moving right along to our starburst. So what I use for this is the mini starburst because I find really easy to mold, and depending on how fresh they are, you can probably just smush them right in your mold right away. I'm going to microwave mine just to make sure that this is easy, and I'm going to try to create a pattern as well. So again, maybe 5-10 seconds, as these candies are pretty soft to start with. So I'm just going to take one of each color and create sort of like a square pattern on the outside of each of my molds, and then I'll just fill it up with the rest of the starburst. Shoving so much in there to ensure that I have all the little gaps filled in, and I'm going to squeeze it, and then whatever sort of oozes out, I'm just going to cut off. Okay, so once I have all the edges cleared out and everything shoved in there, I'm going to stick my ring in and put it in the fridge. Alright, so when you put it in the fridge, it doesn't take too long, you guys, so you can just snap it off. Now this one I actually forgot to take it a little bit earlier so that I could smush the candy down to the base. So this one does have a space that you'll see between the candy and the base of the ring, and personally I don't like that just because I'm worried that my candy's going to fall off, but maybe some people prefer this look. Alright, so I have my Coke bottle gummies. For this ring pop, I only really required 10 gummies. And of course, I'm going to try to create the same effect as these gummies. So I'm going to cut them in half, and I'm going to microwave them separately, obviously. Now these gummies do not take long to melt, so just make sure that you guys do maybe 5 seconds at once. Or else it just kind of boils and then it gets stuck on your bowl, and it's really awkward to work with. Okay, so here I am scooping out the clear part, and Coke bottles are so hard to work with. Sometimes I question why I keep trying to make these things with Coke bottles, but the end result is so cool. So you'll see that I'm having a hard time shoving this stuff in, and you also notice that I have saran wrap because I wasn't really sure if it was going to ooze through the holes of my mold, but of course at this point I can clearly see that it's not going to, so this definitely required some patience and some creativity to get it in there. So I eventually just took off the saran wrap, opened up the mold, and tried to scoop it in there. And then I'm going to have to like smack it on the table to get it all level. Anyways, it was definitely sort of a production. But the end result, like I said, is pretty cool. So if you guys do want to try it, and depending on the mold that you have, you know, it could be easier or harder. I, at this point, was putting more clear in because I actually thought that I didn't have enough, but I probably could have gotten away with not using this much at all because I feel like my ring pop has more clear than it probably should for a bottle of Coke. So you want to have a little bit less clear than I do and more of the actual Coke. So again, as you can see, this stuff is so hard to work with, so it is extremely sticky, but at the same time it kind of hardens really quickly, and so I'm just having a really hard time getting this in my teeny tiny hole to just finish off this ring pop. And yeah, you can just see it just sticks to everything. So again, if you are patient, feel free to try this one, and the result is pretty cool at the end, but I'm just warning you that this stuff is so sticky. So at this point, I was like, okay, I'm just opening up this mold and I'm scraping this brown stuff in there. So that's just what I did. open up the mold, scrape it in, and then close the mold back up, and then obviously stick in your ring, put it in the fridge, and then you are done. And here's the final result, and after all that mess, it looks pretty good to me. Well, that concludes my DIY ring pop video. Thank you so much for watching until the very end, you guys, and please let me know in the comments which was your favorite, and good luck if you try to make any of these. It can be tricky, but the result definitely is worth it. And please make sure you guys give us a thumbs up. Thanks, everyone!